qualifying himself for Korea yesterday for the WCS finals, season one. He was up against TLO, and TLO felt that Lucifer might have been a superior player, but the way that he played out his games, the special tactics that TLO employed, enabled him to win 3-1 over Lucifron, therefore taking 5th place, and TLO qualifying himself for the WCS finals in Korea.
Yeah, and those disqualification spots, man, so hard to get. There's been such a good competition, really, especially considering the caliber of some of the players that weren't even able to make it to Premier League to try to qualify for Korea, such as MC, Grubby as well. It's just been such a competitive competition here at WCS Europe. But Vortix is going to go out for an early drone scout. We'll be looking to go for a 15 hatch. It does look like NoName wants to go for the fast command center, so he's going to be playing a very confident opener, especially heading out for the low ground at the start of this game. Pretty bold move. He might have to pull an SCV to help defend against this drone, though.
Yeah, he's gonna have to micro that a little bit. If Vortix micros this carefully, he's gonna force at least some, even 2 SCVs coming down here for NoName to deal with that drone. So he definitely does not want to take any damage from this. Doesn't want to take any risks. The SCVs even being pulled there for a second, so half a second of construction time on that command center is being missed. Like I said, NoName taking no risks here. Wants to make sure that his command center goes up as quick as possible.
Yeah. And I kind of like that he pulled the 2 SCVs, just so he can make sure that once he pulled one of them away, he could immediately build his barracks instead of pulling a third one from his mineral line. So just trying to stay on top of things, little small touches like that show foresight being brought into defending things like this. And he does have his gas up now, so this looks like the very standard command center first opener that we see. And now NoName is going to go scout out Vortix. There won't be terribly much to see. He went for the 15 hatch, got the spawning pool. He had a pretty reasonable time. He didn't get it immediately after the hatchery, so he's not worried about any sort of shenanigans. I mean, he did scout the command center first. So a couple Zerglings are going to be made. Only 2 so far to scout, and that Queen production is going to begin for our Karante Zerg player.
Yeah, some Queens coming out, Zerglings in production as an ambulance races past my bedroom window on its way to save someone's life, hopefully. I was going to talk to you a little bit about the TVZ meta game that we've seen in WCS Europe this weekend. There were a lot of cheesy games where Zerg players took games off of Terran. For example, the TLO Lucifron series and the series where Stefano played against 4GG. Some of the games that were won were involving a lot of roach play, bailing busts, with roaches as a follow-up, a lot of 2 base plays coming out of Zerg. Do you think we're going to see that in this series as well?
Well, I mean, interesting you should say that. We have double gas being taken by Lucifron at a rather economic timing, but still before a 3rd hatchery. So, I mean, as far as Terran versus Zerg metagame goes, it started out with Heart of the Swarm, what units are going to work, which ones won't. And we've kind of seen that siege tanks have really fallen off in their usage almost completely in the matchup, favoring Widow Mines. And due to the way that a lot of Terran players go for 3 command center builds, they find themselves in a position where their production doesn't really get kicking in until about 9-10 minutes. So we kind of saw this towards the end of Wings of Liberty, some of these Roach Baneling attacks being used to punish triple command center openings from Terran players. But now they're even stronger in Heart of the Swarm because a lot of Terran players don't even build any siege tanks at all. So the Roach Baneling play is it's not just coin flippy, but metagame wise, it's a very, very powerful strategy. We see some Korean players adapting to the metagame by opening up with a couple of siege tanks, usually following a Reaper open. But you're completely right, though, with TLO especially really showing also interesting Nidus play as well, just showing the best ways to be able to punish Terran players that open greedily. And I have to say, I kind of like the way that it's shifting, and we might see a couple more defensive openers here, but Vortix, he is going to take that 3rd hatchery. Nothing like a Roach Horn down yet, and 2 more gas guys or so. I feel like he could go into something like double evolution chamber into lair, but he does have that speed finishing up soon.
Yeah, a relatively late lair coming out of Vortix here, starting in minutes and 15 seconds, about and around. And for NoName on the other hand, he's not playing like the standard meta game either. I want to say, the 3 command center opener that you talked about that is so popular on pretty much any map. We don't see that out of NoName. He's actually adding on 2 extra barracks and a starport before expanding to a 3rd base.
Yeah, so this is one of the other interesting things is that a lot of Zerg players have been timing their builds for that 10-minute mark when the production really starts to kick in. We've even seen such builds like 1-1 Ling Bane timings, and usually you'd see, well, goodness, you go for a timing with plus 1-1. Usually you can't get too much with that, but I feel like going for this style isn't necessarily bad on the part of NoName. But Vortix is getting up his Baneling Nest and his Roach Horn. He could still go for a 3-base timing, maybe get a couple of drones to mine off of this third for the extra minerals so you can supply additional Zerglings. And, well, we have Zerglings on the way now. We do not have any evolution chambers, though, so the gas is only going to go one way, and that's going to be for Baneling and Roach speed. I wouldn't be surprised to see a really big bust for that anticipated 10-minute timing. But, well, we do have 2 drops moving out, and like you said, this is a very aggressive way to play off of 2 bases for Terran. It's not something that we see too much, so NoName's going to try to do some damage, but Vortix has already got the infrastructure in place to defend this.
Yeah, Vortix is getting ready to go for a bit of aggression of his own in about a minute right now. He's got a really good drone count, very good economy to be on when you're going into this many Banelings and Roaches. He's getting Overlord speed at the same time. The Hellions are getting into the natural, trying to poke around a little bit. The Marines are going to be following up here. They do not have combat shield yet, but they do have Stim, and the 2 men of Axe overhead have a lot of energy to heal them up. Here comes Vortix, though. His centrifugal hooks is not yet finished, so the Banelings are going to have trouble trying to connect with the Marines here. Decent micro here from NoName, able to pick off a few of the Zerglings. Both players losing about equal amounts of units, I'd say.
Yeah, Vortix really doesn't want to take that fight without his Baneling speed. It's so close to finishing up, but it is going to allow NoName to clear up some of the creep. Now the Roaches are here, and well, these Marines don't really even have combat shields, so the Roaches are going to have quite a bit of staying power. He's going to have to lift up and boost away, and you know, one of the negatives to this playing this style, there's actually, I don't see a third command center anywhere here for NoName, so this is a pretty rough spot to be in. He's going to fall behind on economy pretty quickly, and I mean, he is moving into some siege tank production, so the number of Roaches and Banelings are going to be somewhat defendable. He does have 2 tanks. We have a 3rd siege tank on the way. The bunker setup is pretty solid for NoName. The question is going to be, can he hold this off? I feel like with 2 siege tanks, once these Banelings get into range, he should be able to just focus fire these down. But there are Overlords being brought here as well. I feel like these are to tank Widowmine shots, but this defense here from NoName should be pretty solid. Most of the Banelings already taken out. The Roaches are moving in. The Overlords as well, but they, I mean, Marines don't really care about Overlords, Lorian. And really solid defense from NoName. And he's going to get a bunch of free Overlord kills, too.
Ooh, might be supply blocking Vortix there. Doesn't get the last Overlord, so Vortix is going to stay in the normal supply right now. At the same time, the medevac drop that NoName was going for was shot down pretty well by Vortix, is continuing to do some damage. The Marines trying to focus down some of the Zerglings and the Roaches here, but only 1 Marine going to stay alive in this medevac. At the same time, NoName going to be pushing out of his natural, will be moving in for a bit of aggression. Like we said earlier, the thing is, he's only on 2 bases. He needs to make something work with his pretty good upgrades. He's at 1-1 right now, has finished up a little while ago. How are the upgrades looking for Vortix? Well, they're non-existent. He's just now getting his first 2 evolution chambers, so NoName is going to have a great timing here with some very well upgraded Marines.
Yeah, especially considering the lack of tech on the part of Vortix. He's just now starting to spire. He's going to try to move these Banelings in. Just a couple solid connections, but now the siege tanks are here. And like you said, that 1-1 is done for NoName. He does have the armory on the way. He's going to be able to get that 2-2. There's no upgrades at all for Vortix right now. All he has are the speed upgrades for his units. And with siege tanks, it's going to be so hard to bust this. And the other thing is, even though he had the 3rd hatchery so much faster, he only just made those drones after his attack failed. So NoName will be able to get up a lot to take out this 3rd base. Very good connections here. Banelings get some solid hits, but there's so many medevacs healing these units with the tank support. NoName's going to be able to punch clean through these Roaches, and we already see him taking a very nice engagement here versus Vortix. Units lost tab is very heavily favoring our Terran player.
Yeah, there's those upgraded Marines being so highly cost efficient here, taking out Roaches as they spawn from the X that were left over at the 3rd base. Some Overlords going down. The Marines continue to push forward. Now there's some green support here. The medevacs have to be careful. Some of them are on pretty low energy, so not that much healing is available anymore. NoName might be slightly overextending himself here. His siege tanks are now naked and are going to get taken out. Yeah, definitely a bit over an overextension here. Might have been able to lift off some of his siege tanks and Marines to get out of there. For now, it seems like nothing is going to make it out of here alive. But all in all, still a pretty successful attack for NoName, I'd say. Being able to deny that 3rd base and having 2-2 on the way, he's going to keep his upgrade lead.
Yeah, it was a very nice play by him. I kind of agree with what you said, though. Maybe he should have pulled the tanks back, waited for some more Marine reinforcements, so he had a bit more meat in front of his siege tanks. especially with these Mutalisks coming out. But interestingly enough, NoName is going to stick on his Siege tank production. He's still putting them out. So this is looking a little bit more like a Wings of Liberty game, but when you're ahead in upgrades like this and your opponent is behind in economy and tech, it's not really a bad thing to stick to the Siege tanks. The Hive tech is really what makes Siege tanks not so great anymore and harder to swarm, but Vortix is so far away from getting anything like Ultralisks out or Vipers. It's not going to be easy by any means to get a solid counter to these tanks up. The Mutalisks will be fine, but like you said, these Marines are going to have that really big upgrade advantage soon. And oh man, upgraded Marines really chew Ultralisks apart. Excuse me, Mutalisks apart.
Yeah, Ultralisk not so much, depends on their upgrades of course. And Mutalisks are at 0-0, 2-2 is not finished up for the Marines just yet. They need another 30 to 40 in-game seconds before that kicks in. On the other side, Vortix doesn't have 1-1 finished up for his Zerglings either, and of course the armor upgrade for his Roaches. So both players going to be waiting it out a little bit, waiting for the upgrades to finish. But by the time Vortix finishes his 1-1, 2-2 is going to be about to finish up for NoName, so he's going to be in an equally bad position.
Yeah, it's like, okay, my 1-1's finally done, and NoName's ahead in upgrades again. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Especially the +1 vehicle weapons. I kind of wish that NoName had been able to get that upgrade earlier just because it allows for guaranteed one-shots on Zerglings, but I mean, there's not really too many Zerglings in this army composition of Vortix, let's be honest. It's mostly in the Banelings, as well as the Roaches, but Vortix has a nice little clump of units prepared. The problem is he's on even supply with a Terran player at the 17-minute mark, and that's never a position you want to be in as a Zerg, especially with such a little bank. He can make Zerglings, but now he's going to come in here and try to engage this. The split from NoName, actually pretty solid splits. He's got the tanks in behind. He's a target fire down these Banelings and Roaches, though, but there might be enough Marines to just punch straight through this. The reinforcements are coming up. He has a bunch of medevacs as well, and NoName really taking this engagement pretty decisively. The fourth base, though, he did manage to scout that out in the bottom right. He's going to want to peel off a couple of Marines to take care of that since there are drones mining there, but he's also going to be able to come towards this third base and possibly shut this down as well, William.
Shutting this down again would be catastrophic for Vortix, because behind this, NoName does have a third base up in the middle of the map. He's dropping mules there like crazy. His income is going to be skyrocketing right now in just a minute over Vortix 1. Vortix is not even going to stay in the game, losing the bottom right base. He knows it's over, and he GG's out.